So, Javonte Williams news breaking today. You've probably seen it by now, but we're here to break it down. You know, a lot of what this show is about is not breaking the necessarily the news that very second when it happens, but I'm a place where you go to find out what we're making of the news, how we're looking at it. Is it something we're going to shoot down? Is it something that we're going to potentially say, yeah, this has got legs, or somewhere in between? So we're here to break down the news. Javonte saying, I feel like I'm ready to go. And whether that's player speak, how much of all this is coach speak, player speak, and what to really expect, where to draft Javonte Williams. The Fantasy Football Show begins now.
FootballShow.com studios.
It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live!
Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern.
From the FantasyFootballShow.com news desk, here is your breaking news.
Okay, so we have Javonte Williams news to discuss and break down and try and dissect the quotes and really get to the meat of this situation and not try and let it excite us or overexcite us when really this is going to be something I'm ready to go, a player says, no matter what. Like, you guys know how much I love Javonte Williams. You know how much I love Breece Hall. And I've been very objective over the entire offseason in terms of comparing these two comeback ACL players. And the truth of the matter is Javonte's not ahead of schedule comparatively to Breece Hall. Maybe he's on schedule, but he's certainly not ahead of schedule if I had to break it down and try and tell you one versus the other, how far one is versus the other. I think Breece Hall is probably a good month or so, if I had to guess, ahead of Javonte in terms of recovery process. And I would say that's maybe a minimum. Breece Hall is a guy that we're saying he's going to be ready for like September, August. Whereas Javonte, we're saying we're hoping he's ready by September. He feels very much slightly ahead of where Barkley was last year. And Breece Hall feels like he is literally going to be no problem, unless he has a setback, hitting the field in week one. No problem at all. It's a matter of their knee injuries were different. Javonte's was more severe. He damaged the LCL, the ACL, meniscus. Breece Hall had more of a clean ACL tear. There was, I believe, some meniscus repair, but that's natural when the ACL, when you tear the ACL in football, you tend to go one way or the other, right? Breece Hall's knee went like that. And you pinch a little bit of that meniscus. So you always, usually, when you tear the ACL, have some sort of meniscus like trimming that you got to do. But for the most part, these two had very different ACL tears. And so when someone comes in with a blanket statement that says, always avoid ACL tears, their first year back, that is a overly cautious Caleb. And those guys are just throwing a blanket statement on something that has very many different levels to it. There's so many levels to the ACL recovery process. How young is the player? What kind of ACL tear did they suffer? Was there surrounding damage to other ligaments? Because sometimes the MCL recovery is worse than the ACL recovery. Was there any sort of damage to the meniscus, which is really the worst part of damaging the knee long term? It's like taking the padding out or trimming the padding down, because you got to cut it and snip it when you do tear it on your brake pads on one side of your vehicle. Well, over time, the alignment of your whole vehicle is going to be off. So cutting away meniscus is like the worst thing you can do to a knee. That's why I worry about AJ Brown so much for the future. But let's look at these quotes real quick. This is what Javonte said, and you got a lot of reports out there taking the one quote and trying to paint a picture with it. I know this is a fan favorite of our channel, but we can't cherry pick at the quotes. And a lot of people are like, he's ready to go. He's ready to go. And maybe that news outlet or that reporter or whatever is trying to, I don't know, paint the narrative that this is all gravy. It's all perfect. Everything's looking good. The report's 100%, locked in. Like, I feel like I'm ready to go, said Williams. It's different than some of the reports out there that are suggesting he is fully ready. He feels like he's ready to go. I feel like I'm ready to go is what any player is going to say that's trying to fight for his job. Imagine in your place of employment, you're injured, you're on the shelf, and there's some other player coming in or some other person coming in to potentially take over for you while you're on the shelf, right? What are you going to say when someone says, how you feeling? I mean, you're almost ready to get back to work. Oh, I'm still a ways away. Put Johnny out there. Let him do my job. Let's see if he takes my job from me. He's going to be a little like protective over, his job and his duties. And he's going to be a little overly optimistic about how close he is. But then if you examine another quote here, and I'm not trying to be negative on Javonte, I'm just trying to set the expectation. It's just all about the evaluation. How the Broncos feel about it, Williams said. Just seeing how I feel, moving, just trying to get my speed back to normal, things like that. So he's very far away from being Javonte of old. And it will take him until at least mid-season to even see if that's possible. Like, I hate to say that we don't know if he'll ever return to his old self. I believe he will. I believe this is a young player. I believe this is one of the most talented tackle-breaking monsters in the National Football League. And one thing I want to make sure everybody is completely aware of walking into this season. You will always be more down on a player close to their ACL tear, and I promise you'll always feel, if they're an elite talent, like the ACL tear almost never happened eventually. Look at Barkley. When Barkley tore his ACL, I remember before we built the studio, I was sitting I had everything in the kitchen dining room area set up. I had the blank white wall, if you guys remember that. I remember when Barkley tore his ACL, I believe it was week 1, and we all said, he's no longer a top 20 dynasty running back. He's no longer a top 20 dynasty running back. Everybody and their mother had the most negative outlook on Barkley because he just tore his ACL. Looking at Barkley walking into the season, what do you think of Barkley? What comes to mind when you think of Saquon Barkley? It probably should be top 5 running back. You should be thinking Barkley is a top 5 running back. Do you believe his ACL is going to hamper him moving forward? I don't think Barkley's ACL injury is going to bother him in the slightest now. He is far removed from it. Now, granted, it took him a full year of playing, miserable football to the people that drafted him number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5 overall, but he wasn't ready. Breece Hall is ready. Javonte's kind of in the Barkley bucket right now. He's kind of in that I don't know if he's going to be ready. This doesn't convince me of anything. I hate to break it to all of you. This doesn't convince me of anything. This is his optimistic outlook of where he's at. He's not far along. He's not far along to the point where we can even determine if he's week 1 ready. Why? Because even Breece Hall, won't be taking hits until week 1. They're not going to shove Breece Hall out there in a scrimmage and let him get his knee knocked around. They're not going to shove him out there in the preseason. I mean, maybe they let him take a carry or two. I mean, that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. But for the most part, these ACL recovering players walk into week 1 with the first test of it all being thrown to the fire in that week 1, and their body just gets overwhelmed. Their knee gets overwhelmed. There's a lot of swelling. Swelling is the body's natural reaction to protect the injury. So this knee hasn't been smashed down the joint, cutting, turning, twisting, getting hit. Going 100% in a game is different than practice because your adrenaline's going. And so this knee joint is going to get jammed down so much during his first game. We're talking Javonte or Breece Hall. There will be natural swelling that injects into the knee to say, whoa. Our knee is not ready for this. And there's going to be swelling. So ACL recovered players, their first 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks will have swelling. Sometimes they have to drain the swelling. The swelling's so bad they have to drain the swelling. I'm not saying that's going to happen with Breece Hall. I'm not saying it for sure happens with Javonte. But Javonte is almost certainly the more likely candidate to have some sort of like week 1 swelling. He doesn't practice during the entire week 1 leading into week 2 week. No practice for him. He's staying off the knee, protecting it. Like, that's the kind of thing I can envision happening with Javonte. Him saying that he wants to get back to his normal speed tells you he's not ready. He's not ready. When he says, I'm ready to go, you're not up to normal speed. So this is not a negative on Javonte. I'm just trying to set the expectation. He is not anywhere close to being ready. This is a player that's very optimistic, and he wants people to be excited for him. He wants his job to be there. He doesn't want P. Ryan to take his job. He's worried about that, and that's natural. But these quotes, and especially Sean Payton comes out and says things like, we expect him to be ready for week 1. Everyone's like, great. But if you listen to Sean Payton, who continued to talk in that press conference, he said, we hope he's not on PUP. in the same conversation, we expect him to be ready for week 1. We hope he's not on PUP. And some news outlets reported just the first part. He's ready for a week. He's going to be ready for week 1. Some news outlets reported the second part. We hope he's not on PUP. He's not going to be ready. Like, people have agendas. And why do people have agendas? Because they've said something. They've dug their heels in, and they want to be right. So they're cherry picking the quotes. The real press conference takeaway was that Sean Payton's not telling you jack squat. And he even said that, which people left out of the reports. Sean Payton himself said, after he said that we hope he's ready for week 1. Oh, and we hope he's not on the PUP. Are you confused yet? Then Sean Payton said in his press conference recently about this topic several weeks back, he then said, and we're probably going to keep everything pretty close to the vest, and we're probably not going to tell you. Just letting you know, we're probably not going to tell you everything. He basically told you, don't listen to me because I'm not going to tell you the truth. So the fact that, and again, being positive about Javonte, I love him in round 7. If you draft Javonte in round 7, and let's say he sits out the first 4 weeks, you're still going to have a chance to crush that value. But if you take this news right here, I'm ready to go, and I'm hoping to try and get back up to speed and do normal things. He's not ready to go. If you start drafting him in round 5 because you think this green highlighted part is the real narrative, then you're ruining his ADP for all of us. None of us can own him so he can explode from his ADP. And I don't want anybody to think that he's going to go out there and do what Breece Hall is more likely to do. Be a top 10 running back in weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, and then in weeks 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way down be a top 5 running back. This guy could be a top 5 to 10 running back when he's ready. We just need to be very careful and draft him in a location round 6, 7, no earlier. You want to take him at late 6, I could get behind that. You want to take P. Ryan in 8 and cuff them together, and who knows where their ADP swap. This news probably drops P. Ryan a little bit, I would think, but maybe this doesn't vault Javonte's ADP up too much. It depends how the news outlets twist this up and how they deliver this information, because there is a whole bunch to look at here, all of which tells 2 different stories, meaning he's not ready. He's not ready right now. He's not. He can't be. He's not. He even said it. He's not up to speed. If he's not up to speed, he doesn't know if he's ready. The cutting involved, the mental hurdle of trusting your knee. When I tore my ACL, and I'm not doing near the things this guy's doing, you literally are walking down a grocery aisle, okay? I'm just telling you the truth of the matter with the ACL. You're walking down the grocery aisle, and as a normal layman, just a regular person, you're just walking and you try and go left, and you just keep walking. Your brain, you've severed the connection in some ways to your knee, and you have to reestablish a new connection pathway to tell your brain to tell your knee and your body to turn. It's crazy. I know a lot of people don't understand it, but it's a severed connection, and you literally have to reestablish that connection. Now, Javonte's light years ahead of a layman walking down the grocery aisle to get Frosted Flakes. I'm not trying to compare the two, and he's certainly way past where anybody we could, bring up in a common common situation, like a common man walking down the grocery aisle. He's clearly way ahead of that, but I'm just trying to emphasize that until you're on the field making those split-second decisions, maybe, yeah, a layman like myself might have trouble cutting, when my brain tells me initially, and you got to get used to it. But him on the field going 100,000 miles per hour, he's going to be slow moving. It's going to be natural, and he can't go test that until he goes out onto the field and plays 100%, which he will not do prior to week 1. That's what I'm trying to say. If he's not ready, like Barkley was not ready, the writing was on the wall with Barkley, we need to draft appropriately. Javonte not ready is still a steal in round 6-7. Javonte not ready can still potentially win you a league in round 7. Javonte not ready in round 4 or 5 is a grave mistake. It really comes down to ADP. I love Javonte. I will draft Javonte. Absolutely in round, preferably 7. If this news kicks his ADP up, then it unfortunately might be one of those situations where we're not drafting him. It just really depends on the ADP and the movement. But that's the news on Javonte. Honestly, there's nothing here. There's nothing. I wish I had better news. Doesn't mean I'm down on him. Doesn't mean I'm not rooting for him. He was one of my biggest breakout candidates last year. He remains one of those guys that if he can get through this year, heading into 2024, he could be where Barkley is. Barkley's ACL has no effect on where we draft him. We're not concerned. Let me know if you feel differently. We're not concerned at all about Barkley's ACL. We will get there with Javonte, where we look back and we say, yeah, I'm not concerned about the ACL at all. In fact, it's nothing. It's nothing to me. Barkley's ACL means nothing to me. He is an absolute monster. Barkley's a top 5 running back this year. Just rest assured, if you're a dynasty owner, we will get back to Javonte's ACL not mattering. I promise you. But we got to be careful right now. He is a 6th or 7th rounder. He is a 6th or 7th rounder. Do not bump him up in your value range. Don't do it. There's a chance he's not very useful until week 10. There's a chance that he goes out there too early, tries to do what Barkley did, and ruins his ability to even get there in 2023. That's always a possibility. Decker dropping the super chat like a monster. First super chat of the show.
Mashed potatoes!
Appreciate you, Decker. Decker dropped a super chat. Deckard says, signed up for the website. The info is amazing. Thanks, bro. My question is, how do you approach ESPN-style draft versus best ball on Underdog? Suggested ADP. Suggested rank guides you, bro. You're using a lot of the same thinking. You don't want to stack quite as much at all, to be honest. I mean, Chase and Burrow is a stack you want, whether it's best ball or redraft or dynasty. Doesn't matter because the offense is a high octane, potent offense, and both of them could be number 1 at their position. So stacking's fine, but you don't have to force it in non-best ball. And honestly, best player available, bro. Deckard, best player available will guide you into championship after championship. Just in best player available is not drafting off the ADP rank. That is drafting like a Bob. Best player available being in your mind, even if you're reaching, who is the best player available, who using ADP. If Olave's a 3rd rounder on ESPN ADP data, let him fall to the 3rd round, pal. Let him fall to the 3rd round. But when you're on the clock, who's the best player available? Why is my super chat not working? I don't know, James. You might want to look into getting that fixed, James. That's an important part of this show, pal. Phone lines are open.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Anybody wants to discuss this topic and more, phone lines are open briefly. I know some of you might have questions about Javonte and where you should take him in your draft or upcoming draft or dynasty trade value. Should you acquire him in dynasty at all? Dan the Grim Reacher celebrating 11 months as a YouTube exclusive member. I love that, pal. Smitty working overtime, best content out there. Thank you, Dan the Grim Reacher. Appreciate you and congratulations on your membership, pal. You are the man. Yeah, I mean, if you guys have questions in the chat about Javonte, drop them in and I'm going to throw them on screen. I would love to talk about this topic briefly before we get into anything else. So please let me know what you got here specific to Javonte. What's up, Marsman Rock Out? What can I do for you, pal?
What's happening? Do
What's
you
up?
compare him more to Barkley or JK?
I mean, J.K. and Barkley both were, useless during their first years back. So I would say that he's maybe a little bit ahead of where Barkley was, but we don't even know that for sure. This right here is going to confuse a lot of people, and they're going to think he's ahead of where Barkley was. He could be. We don't know. The God's honest truth is we don't know. It's too early, unfortunately, and I know we're in July. But it's too early for us to know because, like he said, just seeing how I feel moving, just trying to get my speed back to normal, things like that, until he gets his speed back to normal. And when you tear your ACL, you're compensating because you don't trust it. Now, forward and backwards, some of it's about picking up your knee. Like an ACL recovering player or person running, you'll see like the ACL leg won't go as high as this leg when you're picking you got to be able to pick your legs up at the same rate. Everything's got to be fluid. You can't have one leg dragging or doing anything different, or you get a compensation injury. 4-1 something caller. Who's this? You're live.
Bro.
Who is this? JR?
Yes, sir.
JR, what's up, my guy? Hang tight real quick. Let me finish Rock Out's question, and then I'll come right to you. But Rock Out, I mean, I remember when I tore my ACL. When I would run, bro, you could tell I was running with the limp at first. You gotta break all that away, and you gotta get to where at least running straight forward, you look like you haven't torn it. You feel like you haven't torn it. Your thigh strength is the same. You get atrophy. Your thigh gets smaller than the other thigh. You have to build that strength up. If you walk into a football situation where you're literally trying to cut and do football things, you're trying to be a football player on the field, cutting, getting hit, planting, getting hit, absorbing that hit on the knee, you're trying to do all that, and you aren't even 100% like forward and backwards, you're putting yourself in a situation where you're going to tear something. You're going to tear something. You're going to tear a hamstring. You're going to tear your knee again. You don't trust your knee. So, like, Javonte's got to get to the point where he's 100%, and then he goes out there and takes hits. The thing about Barkley is Barkley barely cut before week 1. Barkley in shorts was cutting for the first time before week 1. Right before week 1, he was cutting. And everyone's like, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. I'm going to take him in the top 5. You're going to take a guy in the top 5 who hadn't yet cut and taken a hit? It's crazy. It's crazy. So it depends on what happens with Barkley. I'm sorry, Javonte. Yeah. Is he going to be on the Barkley track where we're right before week 1? We got all these question marks. The difference between Javonte and Barkley, though, is Javonte is literally getting drafted in a steal territory, whereas Barkley was going top 5. There's a huge difference, a monster difference between their ADP values. So the risk level is very, very low for Javonte, even if let's say you took him at 6.1. But the problem for me is how many other safer players, better draft selections are available in that, you know what I mean? Like that's what it comes down to me. It's not so much do I love Javonte enough to draft him. It's do I love Javonte enough at his ADP. Barkley was a complete avoid at number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. To take Barkley in the first round when he barely cut for the first time right before week 1 was crazy. So very, very different situation just based on the ADPs alone. But Javonte's got to go out there and literally be cutting all over the place, like footage of him cutting all over the place with pads on, hitting a hole, going, like if he's not doing those things before week 1, you can't trust him to be on the field in week 1 doing good things. He's only going to get hurt. So I love him. I love him, but this is a case
Yeah,
of
here.
we need more information before we vault him at all. So he's in round 6 or 7. That's it. Round 6 or 7. Do not take him at 5. Do not take him at 4. Don't fall victim to the people pumping up his value off this news without us seeing anything. I mean, he's admitting to us right here. He's not back up to speed. How could he be ready if he's not back up to speed doing normal things? Like, it's just a ridiculous. It's natural player speak. Hang tight, Rock Out. Go ahead, JR.
Hey, what's up, Smitty?
What's up?
First time I've ever called in. This is Deckard, J.R. Deckard.
Oh, Deckard.
My question.
What's up?
Yeah. What's up? So, who do you, besides Kelsey on the Chiefs, who do you see sticking out this year? Like, who could possibly be like the number 2, fantasy option on that team?
Number 2
I know it's hard to
fantasy
pick.
option is probably going to be Pacheco, like in general. But of the pass catchers, I would say Kadarius Toney is the guy I'm hoping ends up exploding. The guy's ability to take a reception that is behind the line of scrimmage or at the line of scrimmage and take it into the end zone is unmatched. I believe he had like 4, if I remember correctly, on Kadarius Toney. I want to say Kadarius Toney was second in the NFL in targets. Second in the NFL in targets per wide receiver route run in 2022. He had a 29.4% behind only, I think, Adams. I think Kelsey was 27%. So he was second in the NFL in targets per wide receiver route run, ahead of Travis Kelsey. So I don't think people realize that. I think people, granted, he's injury prone. There's a lot of things to dislike. He's a head case. But we're talking about a player that was ahead of Travis Kelsey in route run in that category. Like, it's crazy. So if Tony can stay healthy, he could explode. He could easily be the number 1 wide receiver. I'm not saying he's going to outpace Kelsey or outscore Kelsey by any means. I'm merely telling you that the upside is there. The numbers are there. The rapport is there. Andy Reid's very slow moving with players. He doesn't just vault a young guy or a new guy or a rookie into the spotlight very often. He has done it, Kareem Hunt, and there have been opportunities where, starters go down and he has to resort. But look at Sky Moore, the slow development there. They like Kadarius Toney a lot. They went after him for a reason, and Veach, the GM, is a master at bringing talent in, and Veach loves him.
He is.
Veach loves him, and they keep talking him up. And the fact that this guy, I think he had like 4 catches. I have to look at the stats. He ran 3 of his 4. I'm not going to quote it until I look it up. But this guy is the natural ability, I think, out of anybody in the National Football League, aside from Debo maybe, of catching the football at or behind the line of scrimmage and taking it in and scoring. Like whenever they're on the 4 or 5 yard line, I wouldn't be surprised if Kadarius Toney was as much of a target as Travis Kelsey for Mahomes this year when like on the 5 yard line or closer and they're throwing the football. It's like Kadarius Toney catch the football at or behind the line of scrimmage, take it in for a touchdown. That's Debo Samuel type stuff. This guy's going to catch so many footballs at the line of scrimmage. His yak yards are going to be through the roof. I love Kadarius Toney. He has to stay healthy. Hold on one second. Let me put this 509 caller on hold. 509 caller, who's this? Mr. G, hang tight real quick. I'm going to put you on hold. Keep the mouth breathing to a minimum, and then I'll swing back around to you, Mr. G. Hang tight, okay?
Do you have any?
Will do, Smitty.
Do you have any fear of Pacheco's running style?
Yeah,
How aggressive he is of him
course.
getting hurt?
Of course. That's why you cuff him to McKinnon. You might have to cuff him to the rookie
Right.
Prince. We'll have to see. But Pacheco, he had a torn labrum and a broken hand, coming out of the season. So he's an aggressive runner. But Pacheco's a beast, man. And I think that they are going to lean on him as the full-time starter out the gate. But you cuff him to McKinnon. McKinnon's an easy player to cuff to him. Very, very easy. He falls very, very late. He's an older player. And McKinnon's even a potential guy that you could throw in your flex spot and start both of them, in a pinch, because McKinnon could get 5 receptions for 80 yards and a touchdown while Pacheco runs for 100 yards and a touchdown. Like they're almost in different roles entirely. But McKinnon is definitely a guy that if Pacheco went down, they'd still bring Prince in, or the rookie, or they'd Clyde Edwards-Helaire if he's still there. I hope he gets traded to Cincinnati somehow, but he probably won't. But one of those guys will take over for Pacheco. McKinnon won't just move into the running back role necessarily. So it's going to be one of those things where, you just got to play it by ear when the injury happens. You got to be on top of the waiver wire. I almost guarantee you at some point during the year, Prince or Clyde Edwards-Helaire, or, we'll be talking McKinnon if people cut him. Like, let's say McKinnon starts off slow and he does 3-4 games in a row where he doesn't do much. He could get cut. Whatever the case may be, wouldn't shock me at all if at a certain point, we see a waiver wire show, that has these guys on there. One of these guys.
One more thing before I go, just prayers for Miss Navy, and then I'm going to get back on the live. Thank you, Smitty. Love you, bro.
Okay, appreciate you. Let's go over to Mr. G. Mr. G, you're live.
Hey, good day. Happy Sunday. How you guys doing today?
What's up?
Good. So I just wanted to talk to you about my roster a little bit. I'm in a 14-team tight end premium dynasty, and last week I had the luckiest week ever. I am a Chase owner, and last week I was able to acquire Jefferson and Kelsey. A few weeks back, you told me I should trade Jonathan Taylor for Gibbs and Rashad White, so those are set. I need help at my flex. My flexes, I have Pacheco, Mike Evans, and Rashad Bateman. Will my top end carry me through, or do I need to make some flex changes?
Give me the team again.
All right, so my quarterback is Herbert. It's a one running back league. So my starter is Gibbs. I have Chase, Jefferson, Kelsey, Bateman, Mike Evans, and Pacheco. It's a start 8.
Bateman, Pacheco, who?
And Mike Evans. And I'm just wondering if my top end talent, my Jefferson, Chase, Kelsey, and potentially Gibbs, my 4 horsemen, if they will be enough to carry me through any deficiencies that I might have with a Bateman, with a Mike Evans, or even possibly Pacheco.
I mean, I think so. I mean, the only person that's lacking at all in your lineup is maybe Bateman, and maybe he bounces back. But I mean, I love Pacheco. Can you get McKinnon?
Possibly.
I mean,
that is a possible. So I should try to handcuff McKinnon too.
For sure, bro. I mean, that's one of the, like, I don't know if you've seen my. I mean, look at my Moon Man list.
The Moon Man.
Sure,
Yeah.
I followed your Moon Man list.
I mean, Pacheco and McKinnon are there together, not one.
Space Moon says
Pacheco's not here by himself. This is a combination. You don't have the combination, you're probably going to get left in the dust. In terms of the
right.
Let's see where. In terms of the
one
17
last
starts.
follow up. Would you maybe try to move Pacheco for Javonte?
No. I mean, in your situation, you can win cash money, bro. You could win cash money. This team's fire. Chase, JJ.
I feel really good about it.
Would I rather have Fields over Herbert? Absolutely. But that's
so I should try to acquire Fields?
I would.
Because I was thinking about that. I've been thinking about that, trying to upgrade off of Herbert to Fields.
I would. A lot of
Burrow is not available.
A lot of Herbert believers in here.
Chase.
A lot of Herbert believers in here, and I'm not saying you can't believe in both, but Fields is 1 to 5. Herbert is in my 6 to 8. Doesn't mean he can't climb ahead. I want you to trust your gut. If you love Herbert, sounds like you're also contemplating it. But that would be a big move for you. Getting out of Bateman and getting, I don't know, like just guys that come to mind would be like Tank Dell, Not saying trade Bateman necessarily, but just trying to acquire some other play.
I actually did draft. I did
Okay, so
draft
you got
Tank
Tank Dell.
Dell in the late third in my
good.
rookie draft.
So if he tears it up, you can definitely, McKinnon, go get McKinnon. But this team's fire, bro. This team's fire. Chris
Awesome,
just followed
Smitty.
on Threads.
Thank you.
Appreciate that, Chris. All right, hey, call back if you have another question or you have another trade, and we'll break it down, Mr. G. Appreciate you.
Smitty. Thank you.
Later. Rock out. What else you got?
Yeah. Guess where I got a Javonte in a draft a couple of days ago?
Javonte, where?
Pick 102.
Nice. Javonte and pick. Yeah. Wait. Pick what?
102.
You know what draft? I don't know
best ball.
What do you mean 102?
Pick 102.
You got Javonte Williams at pick 102. You mean 102? Okay, I'm just making sure. Okay, the way you were saying it's like 1.02. Is the 102? Like, what are you talking about? What you mean 102 overall? Okay, good. Yeah. That's good. That's good value.
102.
Yeah, 102. Okay, that's a good pick. Trade Herbs Bateman for Fields Watson. I don't think he's pulling that off, but I mean, it's a good point though. Electro's point is good and valid, Mr. B or G, Mr. G, Mr. B. I forget who it was. But make sure you try and leverage that Herbert's for Fields trade because Herbert sometimes is ranked higher than Fields, so you can maybe get that Bateman bump. So it's a good point. 102nd pick. Yeah, I thought you were saying the 102. So because people usually say the 102 is the 1.02. So I was like, what do you mean you took him 102?
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? At first I thought that's what you meant, 102, but then I'm like, Bateman, odd man out unless there's an injury. Agreed, Matt O. I'm not going near Bateman. But in his situation, this team is a absolute, gem. Like if he could get Fields somehow, that would be phenomenal. But Mike Evans, I potentially trade Evans, but you can't get everything when you got J.J. Chase, Kelsey, and Gibbs. That's a phenomenal squad. Bryson dropped a super chat. Bryson, I'm going for it right now. Bryson. Here we go. $4.99 holler. Javonte feels good. Makes me extremely optimistic for Brees being ready for the early season. Yeah, Brees is in a different territory. Now, could Brees suffer a setback? Yeah, but Brees feels like he's a good month ahead of Javonte. And it's not really timing. It's more about the injuries were different, too. So he has less obstacles, less chance of re-injury, cleaner feel to the knee. But Brees Hall feels very much ahead of schedule. All these things can change. And that's why you need to be cautiously optimistic. Even with Brees Hall, you got to be cautiously optimistic. And you can't expect the world in week one. But you also shouldn't accept that it's possible. Like, you should not deny the possibility that Brees Hall looks amazing in week one. Like, amazing in week one. Not to mention, he's in an offense where Aaron Rodgers, for years, and I know it's a slightly different offense, but it's an Aaron Rodgers offense. Aaron Rodgers, for years, just dumped off and fed Aaron Jones PPR production that was unmatched. And we're looking at Brees Hall potentially becoming that guy. Now, could Dalvin Cook be brought in and just kind of rain on the parade? Yeah, I don't think it rains on the parade entirely. And Dalvin Cook could be toast by week 4. Maybe he comes in and he's not even the same guy, and Brees just kind of leaves him in the dust. There needs to be a change of pace back. And whether that's Cook or somebody else, whether it's probably one of the running backs on the roster, I don't think. I mean, they drafted a rookie. They still got the old boys in the running back room. I don't think that we're necessarily looking at something where they need to bring in another guy unless they fear something is wrong with Brees Hall, or they haven't been honest with us about something and he's not 100%, close to 100%. But I believe Javonte is going to be an absolute monster someday again, just like Barkley is. We're not worried about Barkley's ACL tear at all anymore. We're just not. We're not. It doesn't even cross our mind anymore. Barkley's a top 5 running back. Barkley's very underrated. In fact, I'm probably going to do a Barkley video here very soon, talking about how in the second round, there really is no better running back to draft in round 2 than Barkley right now. He's probably the best value in fantasy football running backs wise in round 2. And so there's hope that he gets there eventually. I just think expecting that, especially in the first part of the season, is a little optimistic given he feels like he's ahead of schedule. Follow me on Threads, guys. The Fantasy Football Show. There's going to be so much content on Threads. Don't listen to the negativity of people not wanting to follow another Zuck platform. You're already, using IG. You're using Zuck's platform. And Threads is an extension of IG, and it's going to be phenomenal. If you're going to hold out from following me on Threads, you're going to miss a ton of amazing content because I'm going to be all over on Threads. Not only that, you're going to get video replies from me a lot of the time with your question, which is awesome. You'll see what I mean. Vamp says, is Fields the most polarizing fantasy player? I believe he probably is. I think he's gonna single-handedly put the Bears, well, not single-handedly, I mean the polls is setting him up very well, but he's going to once again put the team on his back, and I think Fields is going to have 1,000 yards rushing again. Maybe he doesn't have 1,100 yards, but he has 900 to 1,000 rushing. He's going to have 3,500 plus passing yards. Going to have probably more passing touchdowns than Jalen Hurts had last year, which was 22. So he's going to have 10 touchdowns on the ground plus more than 22 touchdowns passing, more than 3,500 passing yards, and over 1,000 yards rushing. Like I said, he's going to be a top 5 overall player in fantasy and could contend with the number 1 overall quarterback spot and the number 1 overall spot in fantasy football. He could be the number 1 overall fantasy football scorer, and you can get him in round 5, which is why Fields is one of my best 4 picks in all of 2023 fantasy football. All 4 of these videos can be found on my main YouTube page. If you scroll down, it's all in a row by itself. If you want to watch each one of these 4 videos, they're all in a row by themselves on my main YouTube homepage. So go check those out. Vampy, appreciate your super chat. The $1.99 hauler, my boy Vampy. Rock out, any final thoughts before I jump you off the phone line here?
No, I'm good.
All right. Rock out. Appreciate you, pal. Rock out. Later, buddy. We're on the wrong screen there. All right, guys. I'm out of here. Appreciate everybody being in the building tonight. First in the building was D Money. Then Peanut Butter and Waivers. True Penguin was third. Sandu, David, Slater was in the building. Devo, Nate, Ron Navy, Jeremy W, Silva, Sandu. Appreciate you all being here. Andrew Clark, Blake. Appreciate you all. Matt, what's up, my guy? Why is Tony calling out Giants fans for hating? What a childish move. I mean, no one said that he wasn't a little bit of a diva or nutbag. You know? All right. We'll see you guys later. Appreciate you all. Love Jones's ADP, says Roger. Later, Marty. Appreciate you. Go follow me on Threads. Follow me on Threads right now. Here's the link. Let me put it in the fantasy football. Hold on. Here it is. Okay. Here's my Threads. Go follow me on Threads. I'm telling you, if you don't, you're going to miss so much amazing content. Here is the link. Let me make sure I got it right. Yep, that's it. Okay, here it is. Go follow me on Threads right there. Let me shout out. I'm going to shout out anybody that follows me right now on Threads. Okay, people that followed me just recently. Key 93, Jason Montoya, John F. Carroll, Matt N. Patel, appreciate you. Noreen. I'm going to keep refreshing real quick. And I appreciate everybody following me over there. It's going to be amazing. You guys are going to absolutely love it. Chris, appreciate you. Jason, I'll stay here for a second. I just want to make sure I'm following everybody, or shouting everybody out that's following here on Threads, giving you guys your proper shout out, because it's going to be amazing. We already have about almost 1,400 followers over on Threads, and I'm going to create just as much content. Ethan, you don't have to follow, but you can stop hating on it. You know what I'm saying? You can stop hating. You don't have to be on Threads. It's fine. But you don't have to keep spamming in the chat that it's, you know, what I'm trying to talk about right now that people shouldn't be going to do. So you can either, you can accept that that's what we're doing, and I appreciate you, Ethan, but stop spamming in the chat to not do what I'm telling everybody to do. Okay? Otherwise, you're going to be putting time out, so stop it. Appreciate you, Blackbeard. Blackbeard's the man. Thank you for moderating. Who else is followed? Let me call you out right now. Let me shout you out. Let me give you the shout out you deserve. Here we go. Billy, appreciate you. Brian K, appreciate you. Mr. Optimus, appreciate you. MGF, appreciate you. John O, appreciate you. Brad, appreciate you. I'm different name on Threads, Smitty. I'd follow you. I'm a different name on Threads, Smitty. I'd follow you. Okay, follow me over there, Marty. Appreciate you. All right, guys. I will see you all on the next show. I don't know. Maybe I'll be live again. Maybe there's breaking news again. We'll have to see. Javonte, what do you think? In the comments, drop what you think about Javonte. Will you take him any higher than round 5 if he climbs there eventually? I say don't. As much as I love Javonte, you have to wait. You can't take him in a territory where he can't earn that value back. But do you like him in 6 still? Do you like him in 7? Do you like him in 5? If he climbed into 5, would you take him in 5? Leave your answer in the comments. Appreciate you all. I'll see you later. Later MCDC, later AC, later D, later Golf, later Marty. Later Lunchbox. Later D-Class, later Roger, later Electro, Max, Matto.
The Four Horsemen. Drafting Chase in round 1, Hall in 2, Burrow in 3, London in 4, Try Gibbs in 3, Burrow in 4, Wilson in 2, no problem. Combinations of these monsters will give your league mates nightmares, especially Bijan 1, Alavi 2, Burrow 3, and Gibbs 4. Don't lie. You just made an oopsie in your pants, didn't you? Ride for horses at the same time, the Four Horsemen.
do it live. All right, now I'm really out of here. Hit that thumb up button on your way out the door. Appreciate you. Later, Big T. Later, Sean. Later, Marty. Later, Mr. G. Later, Adam. You do that, Ethan, but I'm definitely not posting on Twitter much. It's all Threads, IG, YouTube. Peace out. Big T, watch the replay. Later.